make I run use your phone, Jare.
Guy, when you do your glow line now?
Baba, calm down now. Stop with this NIN wahala, they give me stress. They don't even block my line.
But now glow NIN league is simple pass now.
Eh?
Simple. Just dial star 109 hash. Tell where to do. See. Take, give my phone.
Hey, what if I don't get NIN before?
Simple. Just go any glow word now. Once you go get your NIN. Yeah.
Eh?
Yes.
I get plenty guys who don't link their NIN until now their phone still dey block.
Then when they go any glow word now, once they go block their line.
Eh?
Nah.
I know wahala, make I use your own phone for now. I go start my own later.
Guy, talk plenty talk. You know when I link my line, Glow that me plenty bonus. Yes, now and when you link your own line, Glow will dash you up to 20,000 naira bonus.
20,000?
Yes, so 20,000 naira bonus.
Yeah, fam. Take your phone. Renew. Yeah, I don't link my NIN.
This bonus now for both you and existing customers. So
Don't just wake up your child. Wake up the champion in them. Give them energy to help them win every day with Milo at breakfast. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child.
Every Harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She said an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Knock, knock, knock. Have you had breakfast this morning? I'm talking about the Kellogg's breakfast. It's fortified with the essential vitamins and minerals so you can stay active and alert. So tasty, so nutritious.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action Toothpaste. Sensodyne Rapid Action Toothpaste. Available in a big 100-gram tube and a small 25-gram tube.
Check this out. It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before because they had to keep up with the clicks. All of a sudden, there are so many must-dos if you want to keep selling, like delivery there, no there, or there.
And make it tomorrow, first thing.
No time for borders. Got to stay in control, to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you. Keep up with the clicks.
I find the strength I need every time that I look into your eyes. I know they worry, cause I know that you did by my side. And if I fall away, right in the midst of all my hours, you know that I am on my one. You always there for me. No matter what I do, you love me unconditionally. You show up, you love me every day. No matter when I show you, you show me love. You show me love.
You're welcome back to Weekend File. The creation of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, is to, among other things, provide a platform for lecturers to highlight salient issues affecting the university system to the attention of government for national interest and development. Over the years, however, incessant strikes by the union in pressing home its demands put a question mark on whether such action can bring about the needed national development. Musa Suleja examines this and other issues.
Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, was formed in 1978 as a successor to the Nigerian Association of University Teachers, formed in 1976. covering academic staff in all of the federal and state universities in the country. In the last 4 decades, the union has always been on the news that has to do with its grudge with the federal government over the deplorable state of Nigerian universities. This led to the signing of agreement between the union and the federal government in 2009. Unfortunately, the agreement has not been fully implemented, leading to incessant strike by the union. But the question on the lips of Nigeria is whether ASUU's public presence or its struggle is achieving the desired objective.
It's very, very unproductive. So there are things that can be settled without going on strikes.
Many believe that the union action are mere rhetorics with little or nothing to show for it, especially on the state of Nigerian universities.
ASUU have overstepped their bounds by not, keening to what the government has offered.
Almost on every account of the industrial strike, the union extracts some sort of financial commitment from the government, and this seems to constitute a kind of win situation until the next strike action. Unfortunately, these strikes do more harm than good on the university system, as students have been at the receiving end. Observers say the other side of the national calamity is the government-linked financial resources, which it hinges on as reason for inability to meet the ASUU's demands.
If you ask me, I think the National Assembly budget, they should look for a way to reduce that and then put some funds from that angle and put it on the educational aspect.
They should just find a way to speak with the government. They should maybe give them what they need.
The strikes, incessant in nature, keep students at home off the school for a longer period.
And I think students should not be blamed for helping themselves in the circumstances they find themselves when they are idle.
Other countries, they are moving forward, and our children are set back.
In a bid to provide solutions to the incessant strike by the university unions, the federal government has reconstituted the team of pro-chancellors headed by President of the Committee of Pro-Chancellors. The committee has 3 months to devise ways of bringing a stable academic calendar in public tertiary institutions.
I have no reservation that you will conduct this all-important assignment with all the seriousness and the urgency that it deserves. This is more so considering the ongoing industrial action by us and the threats by other smaller unions. It is important to say that in nominating the chairman and members of this committee, the federal government painstakingly considered your contributions as highly experienced university administrators from all the zones of the country.
Certainly, observers are keen to see a resolution of this unhealthy development in Nigerian university system to enable Nigerian universities compete favorably with their counterparts in the world. Musa Suleja, NTA News.
And as the saying goes, when 2 elephants fight, it is the grass that suffers. The grass in this case are the students who bear the brunt of the ongoing industrial action embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. In our next report, Ruth Aria Samuel takes a look at the impact of ASUU strike on the nation's educational development.
It is no longer news that the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, as a result of its passion to see the nation's education grow and compete favorably with that of other developed countries, has engaged in incessant and perennial industrial actions for years. But what is of great concern to Nigerians is the enormous impact the incessant strike has on the educational sector the union body is trying to develop.
What has been happening is that a segment of students are moving out of the public university system into the private. That has serious implications for the future.
It's a generational disaster. If you have the youths, those people who are supposed to be in school, for a reason not of their own, they are at home.
When a student comes from another country to your country and spends 5 or 6 years for a course of 4 years, it actually affects your country as a whole. So students won't come to your country to school, so it affects your standard.
There is no date in sight when students will go back to public universities. So what then is the way forward?
Government should realize that, okay, university system is too big for them to handle. They can't handle it. So give autonomy to the universities. Let them be self-sustaining. Let them be self-governing.
Government and ASUU, they should come to a round table. There is no way that the teeth and the tongue will not quarrel, but when they quarrel, there's a need for them to settle. Because if they do not settle, the stomach will be hungry.
Interviewees appealed to government and ASUU to come up with amicable resolutions to their disagreements and work together to get it right if the country wants to meet up with the challenges of a dynamic world. In Lagos, Ruth Ario Samuel, NTA News.
We'd like to bring in our guest at this point. He is Achike Chude, an education expert who is in our Lagos Network Center. Good evening, Mr. Chude, if you can hear me. Go for a break right now and we'll return shortly. Do stay with us.
Oh boy.
You know, I know you're making up the truth. Why can't I go before I lose my cool? I know you even past the difficult.
Don't just wake up your child. Wake up the champion in them. Give them energy to help them win every day with Milo at breakfast. Milo Active Go and the natural goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa helps wake up the champion in your child.
Every Harmattan, he falls sick so frequently and misses school often. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apple. She said an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then use Dettol soap regularly. Germs and disease spread easily during Harmattan. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Knock, knock, knock. Have you had breakfast this morning? I'm talking about the Kellogg's breakfast. It's fortified with the essential vitamins and minerals so you can stay active and alert. Tell me, so tasty, so nutritious.
Our pastors, our imams, in every church, in every mosque, please realize that in the course of praying for peaceful and transparent elections, we all have duties beyond prayers. If we want a stable society before, during, and after the elections, what should you be saying to those that worship with you? All Sundays and all Fridays, you are saddled with the responsibility of bringing up good generations. It is therefore your duty to both man and God to ensure peace all the time, no matter about elections alone. People talk to people and people listen. Talk to your followers. Make them listen to ensure peaceful 2023 elections. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
All right, let's rejoin Achike Chude in our Lagos Network Center. We told you earlier that he is an education expert. Good evening, Mr. Chude.
Thank you.
Lingered for so long, in fact, for more than 2 decades now, ASUU strike has remained a recurrent decimal in our polity. And for now, the students are in their houses, and across the nation, talking about those in public universities. What is the disconnect? Let's find out your own submission on that.
No, I don't want to. It is beyond sad. It's a tragedy what is happening because. It has very serious national implications and ramifications for the country. I remember that when the billionaire Bill Gates came to Nigeria and visited ASUU Rock, I think to see to the presidency, he was confronted by journalists, outside, and then he was asked to talk about two of the most important, which sectors of the political economy of this country are the most important, and he mentioned two. He talked about education first and then healthcare infrastructure. With these two, a country will be on a more even keel. And we know that education is actually the mother or the father of all of the sectors, because every other thing depends on the education, especially in the 21st century. With all its with all the modernities, with all the technology and all the complexities. So you need an educated citizenry, not just for the purpose of maybe building the country, in terms of jobs and infrastructure and all of that, but in terms of security. I think in one of your reports, again, you talked about the obvious implications of having a country where the students, where the education system is shut down. The implications are obvious because there are all kinds of social problems as a result of the dislocations that occur. And even before now, you cannot remove the insecurity upsetting this country in various parts of the country. You cannot remove education from that, where you have, Nigeria is being described as a country with the most out of children, out of school children in the world. So the implications are dire. And again, not too long ago, when I think Okonjo-Iweala was minister, she talked about the fact that our graduates are not teachable, and they are not people that can be used to work for the advancement of the country. Now, that was a very clear indictment. So beyond the fact that a lot of our students are outside, even those ones that have been taught have not been efficiently taught well. And so we have a problem, because if you're for a country that has ambition to move into the 21st century and to play a meaningful role, and of course, you know that Nigeria, people talk about the manifest destiny of Nigeria. People talk about the human capital resource of Nigeria. And the fact that if Africa is going to play a dominant role in international politics in the world, Nigeria would have to take the lead. And Nigeria is not going to take that lead if Nigeria does not have an educational sector that is up to scratch. We used to have it years back. But unfortunately, a lot of things have gone down the drain. But it's not just education. I know right now we are focusing on education. But when a country is beset with myriads of socio-political economic problems, virtually every sector of the political economy of that country is going to suffer. So education is just one of it. Unfortunately, education seems, is obviously one of the most important that a country cannot play with.
What do you think? Because coming to a consensus between both parties, that's talking about ASUU itself and the federal government, has been elusive over time. What is really happening? Can't we get this thing, done and dusted, for the betterment of everyone?
Magician or a miracle worker, if I can give you a solution that will just do the magic, I don't think I'm that, I have that ability. Because, if you look at all the people that have been, very prominent Nigerians that have been showing interest in trying to resolve this crisis, they have not exactly, one commends their effort, but they have not exactly solved the situation. You talk about the other time, the inter-religious, committee in the country engaged the federal government to try to look for a solution. And so I think, again, you cannot take away the solution from, if we want to look at the solution, we have to look at, first of all, the Minister of Labour the other time was talking, and he tried to say that the demands of ASUU is legitimate, but that he is looking at the ability of the government to meet up with the demands of ASUU. And so I think that is where the issue lies. ASUU is talking about some level of autonomy. Perhaps, I think one of the people you interviewed in your report talked about that. Perhaps we should begin to look at that level of autonomy. But then we need to determine what autonomy from the ASUU perspective actually means. You talk about the possibility of raising school fees to a particular level. But again, that in itself has also been problematic because of the deep economic situation in this country. Because once you impose some level of school fees in this country, then a lot of Nigerians will not be able to go to the university. And that becomes, again, a problem. And we need these people, these young people, to go to the university. We need them to be properly educated. Again, I also think that perhaps the private sector is not doing as much as it should do. Again, you look at the state of the economy, and you might not blame them too much. But in terms of research, for instance, I mean, if you look at countries abroad that we want to emulate, that a lot of our youths are going to, you find out that the synergy between these universities, these institutions, and then the private sector is so high. A lot of the researches that are being conducted on behalf of these institutions, running into millions of dollars, are being conducted by the universities at the level of sciences, at the level of social research, and so on. We want to begin to get the private sector to begin to engage those within the university, the tertiary institution, heavily, especially when they have shown that they are qualified to undertake some of the research that some of them will be giving. That way, they end up attracting money into the university system. And then the government too needs to look for some other ways outside of the traditional, ways of. And somebody talked about perhaps monies that go to some of our political office holders. Perhaps because education is key. Everybody needs, to sit down and look for ways to provide a solution. But even at this particular point in time, even if we have a temporary solution, we all know that it's going to be a respite. Because in your report, you talked about, the struggle of ASUU for over a period of 20 years. By the time you resolve the contradiction, an existing contradiction, in the next 6, 7, 8 months, another one manifests. So even outside of, resolving the current impasse, you want to have ASUU and the government continue to engage so that the possibility of this strike renewing itself again would be eliminated totally. But I think it's also about everybody being sincere in whatever deliberation that they are doing. Government has to make sacrifices. I cannot exonerate ASUU from also making sacrifices. I think these sacrifices just have to be made. But we also realize, most importantly, and I think your report was very fair and objective, that ASUU wants to resolve the problems of a lack of a proper education in the country. Unfortunately, people are saying that the way they have gone about it has not exactly helped in satiating their own, their interest in
Okay,
terms of,
Achike, let me hold you there because we need to go on another break. When we return, we will flash out the rest of the discussion. Don't go anywhere. Do stay with us. We are on Weekend File. As we now tell you that stakeholders in the education sector in Rivers State want the relevant authorities to wade into the lingering ASUU strike, given the consequences of the action on students, parents, and the larger society. Deba Barisi Edomanweke reports that apart from the impact on students, the socio-economic activities have also been affected.
Since 1999, the issue of strike has been reoccurring due to non-implementation of agreements between the Academic Staff Union of Universities and the federal government. This has led to disruption of academic calendar and pursuits of most Nigerian students. The contention has been hinged on failure to reach on some agreements. The agreements include payment of staff entitlements, university autonomy, non-implementation of the Memorandum of Action it signed with the Union in 2020 on revitalization of public universities, renegotiation of the 2009 agreement, and the deployment of the University Transparency and Accountability Solution.
For the fact that that agreement has not been renegotiated since 2009 means that, lecturers in federal universities have continued to receive the same salary.
So the unending strike is as a result of the federal government not meeting up the demands of ASUU. And those demands of ASUU are legitimate demands.
Recall that ASUU had threatened a warning strike and subsequently embarked on it on February 14, and there seems to be no end in sight. What does this lingering strike hold for the education sector?
Staying at home for years before coming and going back to stay at home again I don't know. It's not going to go down well with me.
It's going to be discouraging. You understand where somebody had the enthusiasm to study, to read, and all of a sudden you just say stop when it's not prepared. You're going to set the person back.
The business is not going well, to be honest. Sometimes from morning till night, you barely see 1,000. And we have starting bills to pay at home. Most times what you sell at the end of the day wouldn't be enough, to get more stuff. We are not progressing, to be honest.
Keen watchers are appealing to both parties to resolve this face-off, considering its impact on the education sector. In Port Harcourt, Dibabari Sieduma Weke, NTA News.
From the state of insecurity, COVID-19 lockdown to the prolonged strike by Academic Staff Union of Universities, students of University of Maiduguri are going through hard times and psychological worries in this waiting game. The good news is some are engaging themselves with menial jobs, skills acquisition and volunteer services. Mohammed Ibrahim reports.
The more than 2 months since the ASUU strike commenced, all academic activities remain on hold at the University of Maiduguri, where students most hit are those on the verge of completion of their degree program, saying they are heartbroken.
I have a side hustle, which is cooking. The volunteer is just to keep my mind at peace. At least I'm doing something outside school. We really need to be done with school, and so that we can face other aspects of our lives.
We venture into all these selling of products, those people that do work with cars and sell all these goods. So we advertise products and then do sell them. It's better than saying idle, I think, but still the strike should be called off.
There was all these building works. So I have to join them for a week. But going to the second week, I'll go, no any work. I'll go, no any work.
Parents and some lecturers who also decried the unfortunate dimensions in the negotiation between government and ASUU have taken up call for concerted efforts to engage students into useful ventures and businesses to check them from being lured into social vices.
There must be a shifting ground on both sides. The students are idle. They are doing nothing. They are non-productive now. They don't go to school. They don't do anything. They are just sitting at home. It's affecting them psychologically. And we parents were also feeling the pains.
Newly established Borno State University has been enjoying uninterrupted academic activities for 3 years due to its observer status without ASUU branch. It's experiencing increased admission.
Hopefully, by next month, we are going to round up the first semester. I'm appealing passionately for the government to listen with open heart. Let them meet the demands, those demands that they can meet.
Educationists are advising government and ASUU should come to agreement through compromise as soon as possible to save the future of the younger generation now. In Maiduguri, Muhammad Ibrahim, NTA News.
Mr. Achikechu, the education expert in our Lagos Network studio, let's quickly round up with you on this matter. You've heard the respondents talking. Some students have taken their destinies in their hands. Of course, for those of them who do not want to quote social vices, trying to be meaningfully employed here and there at the moment. This may not last forever, but what is the way out finally? Because the students need to go back to school.
It is said that a radical situation calls for a radical, solution. And again, another saying is that where a man's treasure is, there his heart will be. I think we've over the years, in recent times, we've had this phenomenon of the children of policymakers, children of, politicians and the political elites finding succor educationally outside the shores of this country. That has also contributed to a very large extent because if we had, I went to school at a time where the children of the judges, children of commissioners and ministers sat in the same class with us. So there was this heavy concentration of government to ensure that these schools functioned and they functioned properly because they had an interest. One of the most progressive bills in recent times in this country was one introduced by a member of the House of Representatives that sought to ensure that the children of political appointees and elected public office holders would remain in the country. Look, if they were to remain in the country and not find their ways outside the shores of this country, we would conserve much needed foreign exchange, and then there will be concentration of interest from ministers, people in charge of education in the country, from presidents and all that, because they have their words in this country. It's radical, but it is something that could work. I think that is one way of also looking at it. If we can have that kind of situation, then you know that everybody will work towards, ensuring that this crisis is resolved. And then, like we also said, at the level of the ASUU itself, I mean, they have a noble intention. They want, proper infrastructure in the university system. They want to be paid their salary. Nobody is denying that. The minister did acknowledge that it was their legitimate right. But again, we also need to look for a balance, one way or the other. Just like you said in your report, that when two elephants, fight, it is the grass that is suffering, and that the grass has suffered so much. But just like you said, thank God that a lot of them are beginning to find things to do, while the strike persists. But all hands must be on deck to ensure that this strike is called off, and that once it is called off, there are continuous, engagements with the government to ensure that we do not have another one lurking by, within the horizon or in the horizon.
I'd like to thank you very much, Achike Chude, for your submissions on this matter tonight on Weekend File. Thanks indeed. We've been speaking with education expert Achike Chude, who was in our Lagos Network Center on the issue of unending ASUU strike in our country. Now, let's go on our last break on Weekend File. Do stay with us, because when we return, sports and more.
I bring you wonderful news. The village headmaster is coming back to your screen.
Rugged, school. I don't know for you.
It's called Oja Village. We know how to
And I know that even you too, you are getting a lot of orders. Hey,
I love you so much.
And how did I give you the impression?
50-year anniversary.
You mean anniversary?
I talk with that now.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's now bring you sports update.
The inaugural lecture of Adeniyi Jimmy, Director, Department of Coaching and Training, National Institute for Sports, titled Podium Success and Sustainable Sports Development in Nigeria, a tripod of psychological interventions, was part of moves by management of the institute to strategically reposition the citadel of knowledge in the sports sector. The lecturer was of the opinion that sports management experts should be allowed to run the affairs of the country's sports sector, while provision of standard facilities, adequate medical facilities, and timely release of enough funds for the sports sector are among other factors needed. In badminton, the course is clear for Badminton Federation of Nigeria to achieve desired results, as differences amongst members have been laid to rest with reconciliation and consolidation of interest and programs. The board has been strengthened with the drafting of co-opted members, with existing subcommittees reconstituted, while some new ones were created. The president of the Federation, Francis Obi, who rolled out the Federation programs, called on all to support it. In volleyball, the National Division II Volleyball Championship Friday's result indicated that Chief of Naval Staff Spikers Volleyball Club defeated Taraba Volleyball Association 3 sets to nothing. Same team also walked over G-Ranks Kaya of Kaduna Saturday.
And we're here to top this competition. So we are determined to maintain and sustain our unbeaten run.
At the end of the tournament, we want to see new young players that have come up. In football, match day 25 of the Nigeria Professional Football League takes center stage on Sunday across various stadia of the federation. Aqua United will entertain Lobby Stars. Same for Gombe United, that will host Katsina United. While in Ibadan, Shooting Stars will lay ambush for Imba Football Club of Aba, among other matches. In the English Premier League, Arsenal continues its impressive runs with a 3-1 win over Manchester United Saturday afternoon. Other results are a goalless draw between Leicester City and Aston Villa.
While Manchester City humbled Watford 5-1, among other results. With sports update, Olumide Guntola, NT News.
Let's take a look at the weather picture for Sunday.
Glad to have you join us. Partly cloudy to sunny condition is expected over the north and the north central region, with chances of morning thunderstorms over parts of Taraba. Increased cloudiness is expected over the south, with prospect of morning rains over parts of Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River. Later in the day, there are chances of isolated thunderstorms over the stretch of the coast and parts of Oyo, Oshun, Ogun, Imo, and Abia. Prospect of thunderstorms are also there over the high ground areas of the central state and most places over the northeastern region, including parts of Kaduna and Kebbi. That's where we conclude the weather forecast for Sunday. I'm Sefia Sainusa. Thank you for watching.
We'd like to remind you that you can be a star with the NTA, Stand Against Rape and Rapists. My name is Kene Ima. I would give thanks for watching Weekend File tonight on the NTA, and good night.